Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard products number 955. This is a ramp component. The 955 is a component that's going to allow you to transition from 1 inch, 2 1/4 inches over a 3-inch width. Okay, used as a component when creating a ramp. There is a link below this video to the product brochure that you can please do pull up and navigate to the page where you can see only the components. Again, this is the, sounds like I thought I said 954. This is a 955. Forgive me if I misspoke. 6-inch sample piece, 955. This is 3-inch wide, and it's measured from that outside to where the bevel right here starts. The 955 is 1.25 inches tall, and from here down to the floor it's going to be 1 inch. Now, how do I know it's 1 inch? Well, in that product brochure, in fact on that same page, it gives us some requirements. And as it pertains to ramps, you cannot have a rise and run out of violation with itself. What that means is, for every 1 inch in rise, you cannot be less than 12-inch in run. Okay, so for every 3-inch, there's a permissible 1/4 inch increase. That's a 3-inch piece. That's why it goes from 1 to 1.25 inches. But that document is a bit confusing, or at least it was to me the first time I looked at it. So when we look at that component page, start with the R50. The R50 is a 6-inch wide piece of aluminum, goes from 0 to 1/2 inch. Okay, that makes sense. Rise over run, 12 inches required for 1 inch this direction. Well, if we go 6, then I got to have half. Now, in your mind's eye, take the 954 part and cap it behind the R50. 6 plus 6, 0 to 1/2, 1/2 to 1. You're perfect. That's exactly it is. If you take that logic and continue to add these pieces behind it, 6 or 3-inch pieces, you're going to find that you can perfectly navigate what you need to accomplish, and do so in a code-compliant way as well. The advent of the 3-inch pieces would allow you to get to an unusual size, like 15-inch. You could take a R50, 954, and then a 955, and get yourself from 6 plus 6 plus 3, 15-inch. Whatever the depth is, you'll be able to handle it in a code-compliant way. And all those pieces are listed there. Now, if you didn't want to go through the botheration of individual pieces, you could order the 955 assembly with its 2 smaller components. And that's going to be an R125 would be my guess. In that product brochure, you will indeed see an R125 that is comprised of those 3 components, 3-inch, 6-inch, 6-inch, 15-inch wide, and they show it to you put together. And indeed, those pieces nest. This will nest into its leading piece. Simple and straightforward to get through. This is available in different finishes. This is what mill aluminum looks like. Okay, mill aluminum. This is what aluminum looks like when it's extruded at the mill, at where the aluminum is shaped into what is needed. You can also do it in a dark bronze. If you took this 955 and added DKB to the end, it'll be a dark bronze version. Now, National Guard's dark bronze is, to me, very dark. Incredibly dark. I've had people call and say, hey, you sent me black. I says, no, I couldn't have sent you black because they don't make black, but I do acknowledge that it's very dark. So be mindful that their dark bronze is quite dark. However, in most instances, the dark nature of their dark bronze suits the requirements perfectly, because the client literally is matching a dark aluminum storefront. So that's precisely what they need. And it does work out perfectly for the client in that sort of application. You can then do it in a third possibility, the SIA. That's called Slick It Ain't. It literally stands for Slick It Ain't. And they'll take the aluminum, the mill aluminum, and apply a heavy, coarse coating over it that is incredibly coarse, like 36-inch grit sandpaper type coarse, really coarse. I don't know that it's that grit, it's very coarse. The purpose of that is, while I wouldn't call this slippery, my foot has slipped on aluminum thresholds, generally the smooth ones. But if I was creating a large ramp where I could expect my user in the wheelchair to be fully on the ramp, I would sure want to think about the possibility in a rainy condition. The client possibly wanting to rely on having that coarse, slip-resistant, slick-it-ain't feature applied to the material, so keep that in mind. There's another option there, and it's called the returned closed ends. You can imagine your 15-inch threshold. A lot of open area back here, right? National Guard makes return closed ends. They're triangular pieces that will elegantly allow you to close all of that off. The upside of that is you get a professional look when it's done. The upside is that you get a box that's going to contain all the parts. You just have to screw it all together. The downside is that they're really expensive. Not only is aluminum expensive, but the labor to create those returned closed ends really impacts the cost. So you might simply order them because that's what the spec calls out. You have to have them. That's the job. You might also say, oh, I don't even need them, so good for me because I'm going to pour concrete and finish off that area, and my ramp's going to go right between this area and all the way to the concrete. Well, that's great. I've also had some people tell me that, no, I'm not going to pay for those. I'm going to make my own. And I wouldn't have any problem with that. I don't. I don't know how my clients have solved that in the past by making their own, but I can envision how I would. I might take a piece of 1/8-inch thick aluminum. I might screw it down to a piece of plywood. I might then run all of that through a table saw, and I've got my aluminum screwed down at the right angle that I want, so when my saw blade goes through everything, I'm cutting it just how I like it. And not being a carpenter, not making a living doing installations, I would imagine a professional would think of a half a dozen ways to cut that. You could also get your nice thick aluminum and then jigsaw cut just to a line, and then put that cut end down and use the factory edge as your top edge. If you have the ability to TIG weld or can get the material TIG welded, do that as well. You might be able to just simply install the material, then TIG weld it in place, or take all of the components, tack TIG weld it all together, make sure it's all straight and fits in your opening, take it back off, and then really TIG weld everything good, and then get it placed into position and then anchored, however you're going to go about doing that. Okay. Now this material is available in lots of different lengths. We have it in the site in everything from 2-foot to 8-foot lengths. We don't have longer than that because currently it's expensive to ship longer lengths. And if you need a single piece that's 9 foot, it's going to be expensive to ship that. Because it can no longer go package service, it has to go common carrier. If you need 15 openings at 14 foot 8-inch each, and you're doing 24-inch deep, ain't going to be an issue with the freight. That'll get divided in quite easily. But be mindful of the cost to ship long lengths. It has to be quoted. But we also encourage you to not shy away from it. If you need longer lengths, that's what you need. And we can happily quote that. If you need a custom length, let us know. Order the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the net length you'd like for us to cut everything back to. The reasoning is, on this factory edge, I've got a clean, straight factory edge. If I was doing a 15-inch threshold, I would want both sides to all match up together without having irregular cuts. So I might be really tempted to just order the next longest piece, indicate 76-inch. No, I need it 75 3/4. Let the factory do that. They're cutting it from long 16.5-foot extrusions anyway. They don't care what size it is. So be mindful of that. Order it the way you like. Screws are not going to come automatically dimpled in this material. If you need fasteners, specify that. Specify anchors. Some of that might be an upcharge. We'll work with you at that time, but it can all be accommodated. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the National Guard products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the National Guard products, number 955, ramp component in a mill aluminum finish, or any other National Guard product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.